Good evening, YouTube. HeirofCarthage here, and I am back in Total War Warhammer 2, and I've got a themed multiplayer battle for you with some good eye candy, and we'll start that off with Mr. Archaon, the Ever-Chosen himself here. And this themed battle comes from my campaign. It is paused, so you won't hear any music or anything right now, so hang tight because this battle does get underway quick. This is a 2v2 Ultra Funds battle, and it is played by myself and then 3 viewers who joined in when I was doing a live stream, but I wanted to get a cinematic recording of this because it was a really fun battle. So I am representing Archaon's army from the campaign, so I've brought quite a few knights. I've got the Swords of Chaos, a knight and a knight with lances, and then I've also got a Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Shadows, to represent the character Appius from my campaign, and the Exalted Hero to represent Sextus from the campaign. And then my main line is going to be Chosen, and because of the Ultra Funds, I can actually afford a few of them. So I've got Chosen intermixed with Chosen with great weapons. We are going up against Dwarves, so it felt appropriate to have plenty of great weapons. So 2 knights, 1 with lances, 1 Sword of Chaos, and then Archaon is going to be rocking not really any magic from his end, it's just his abilities. All the magic is going to be over here on Appius, and he's going to have Pit of Shades, Enfeebling Foe, and Mystifying Miasma. So that's my army, relatively straightforward. I've got Norska joining me, and this one is going to be representing, of course, Felmann Ingerson of Norska. He is mounted on a mammoth, which he never had been before then, but hey, we didn't make that rule. And then he's got a Shaman Sorcerer, Lore of Death with him as well to represent the one like we have in the campaign. Of course, it's a Chaos Sorcerer in the campaign. And then he's got some Marauders. You can see a couple of Marauder Champions, Skin Wolves, Norscan Ice Wolves, the Beast of Tanshar, and then he's got more units deployed up here on top, more Marauder Champions. He's got a Mistwalker Famir Warrior, 2 more Skin Wolves, and then he's got some Ice Wolf Chariots mixed in behind my infantry line. So very cool units he's got there. Over here we've got the Empire, who is led by Balthazar Gelt. He's got his final transmutation, and his Golden Hounds, Searing Doom, an Empire Captain there as well. And then the Empire Army here, even at this Ultra Funds level, is pretty much all state troops. Which is going to be an interesting one for the Empire because he's going to have to make really good use of artillery and a steam tank in order to make this work out, because he is going to have the lowest tier infantry in the battle. So there are some swordsmen, among them are Sigmar's sons, some halberds, we've got some Empire Knights, there's the Silver Bullets, more halberds, we've got a rocket battery, the Hammer of Witches, Altdorf Griffites, like I said, steam tank, and then over here, there's also going to be another Empire Knight. So the Empire has relatively cheap troops, all things considered here. And I'm sitting here looking at that, wondering if he even spent all his funds. It still seems like it may come in a bit low. So yeah, not really sure. They're 100%. The Dwarves have 2 Gyrocopter with Brimstone guns, 2 Thunderers, and then there's going to be a front line of miners with blasting charges. Very good way to break up elite infantry. They're backed up by Longbeards with great weapons, carrying some pretty serious chevronage, so these guys are going to fight to the death. There's a Norgrimling's Ironbreaker, a Runesmith, and Ungrim. And then there are 2 cannons, Dragonback Slayers as well. So a pretty stacked Dwarf army. The action is going to be quick and furious, because we did not bring artillery. Archaon's army does not have artillery in the campaign. Gonna get you all some sweet Dawi action here right up close. His gyrocopters come out and start harassing me immediately, and his cannons are opening fire. Now, my Norscan ally, let's take a look at the map just real quick. I'm going to pause it once again. There's an outcropping formation here, which is going to basically force us to try and attack 2 directions. So my teammate is going to come around at the right-hand side, and me on the left-hand side here. The Empire is holding that right-hand side, and the Dwarves are heavily concentrated on the left. So that should be good. Let's jump back into it. So yeah, the cannons are causing significant damage early on. Balthazar is probably going to come up and try and get some final transmutation early in the battle. Archaon can't heal. It's one of the things that makes him relatively weak in multiplayer. He's very expensive for what he delivers. And I guess in Ultra Funds, maybe he's a touch better in some ways, because he doesn't... You have more funds to spend, but in some ways it's kind of worse because so do the other players. And if we were not in a themed battle, I could very much end up against a dragon or something that would completely own him on this horse. The Swords of Chaos do help, though, because they provide a Guardian bonus, which gives them 20% physical resistance when they're close. The Empire Knights rolled in to try and disrupt my infantry. They started to run away, but I was able to catch them with my Chaos Knights. I was not going to let him get free charges on my Chosen. I like how the Mammoth here, this is a pretty sweet play, gets right behind this outcropping, and he's able to hide from the cannons and thunderers. It's not often a Mammoth can hide. Unfortunately, he can't hide from the gyrocopters. There's a lot going on. Let me swing out here, and I'm going to put it in slow motion so we can check out what's happening on this flank. The Skin Wolves and Ice Wolf chariots made a quick run in. They have dashed apart a halberd unit. Balthazar is trying a final transmutation over here, but not a great target. It's being used on the Skin Wolves. Definitely should have been used on a Lord. And we're going to see the Mistwalkers and other units coming up here. Now, Marauder Champions are going to have a field day just punching all these units in the face. The Death Shaman just hauled right into this infantry with his chariot as well. He'll be in decent position to kill a lot of Empire infantry, but he's going to have to watch out for the Griffites and the Silver Bullets. Let's hit play once again. So as you can see, my Norskin teammate is trying to break up the Empire. And then we're going to have a very tough fight with the Dwarves. I'm trying to close the distance. Fortunately for me, the Dwarves did deploy in a relatively good position, but they should have deployed just a little bit closer. And because they didn't, the Thunderers are blocked from line of sight. It won't stop the blasting charges, but the Thunderers are blocked. So I'm going to pull up. When he starts to throw the blasting charges, I'm actually going to back up. And I'm going to charge in some cavalry. I'm going to use the cavalry to try and disrupt the Dwarf Army. I'm trying to keep my elite infantry from taking too many of those blasting charges. I'm going to pull my cavalry back out and now come back forward. We'll see whether or not my idea was effective or not here. We are still going to take a lot of damage. My Chaos Knights have been savaged by cannon fire. And we finally pushed back the Hammer of Witches, but I have to watch out because there's a lot of spearmen and there's a Dragonback Slayer here, so I do have to be careful because I could get bogged down and killed. Now, fortunately for me, my teammate very nicely here brings around this Marauder Champion. The Dwarves are going to have to engage it. It gets a hold of their Dragonback Slayers and their artillery, and this is going to leave Archaon and my Swords of Chaos in good position. Appius and Sextus have outflanked and are able to get back here into combat. And then my Chosen has engaged the Longbeards. Now, the Longbeards with great weapons are outmatched by my infantry, but, I mean, they might do decent against the standard Chosen. It's hard to say. My Chosen with great weapons are going to mop the floor with them. The other units maybe not so much. My Swords of Chaos kind of plowing through battle right now. I'm trying to get in behind and get to these guns and stay away from the Dragonback Slayers. Now, check it out. This is one of the reasons why Archaon is not ideal for multiplayer. Look how bad he's getting beat up on by just a lowly Empire Captain there. Didn't have any armor piercing, and Archaon is just getting thrashed. I gotta be careful, though. I don't want to get tied down, so I'm gonna have to keep Archaon moving. My Swords of Chaos did a pretty decent number here, but again, Dragonback Slayers rolling in. We gotta stay out of there. Now, the Marauder Chieftain, in this case representing Felmann, did manage to tear into the Dwarf lines and assist my infantry. So I got a Norskin ally here. And then my Norskin ally has wrapped up the state troops of the Empire, and his forces are now coming in from what was the left flank of our opponents and taking position on the hill and getting ready to maraud their way down into combat. Archaon is just getting absolutely savaged right now by an Empire Captain. I'm trying to dodge him, doing everything I can. I'm bringing in the Swords of Chaos because they provide that Guardian effect. And I was going to let the Swords of Chaos try and take down this Empire Captain. You can see Archaon's just missing charges right here. And then the final transmutation is going to be timely for Balthazar. Archaon is hurting bad and has done very little in this battle of any significance other than get beat up by an Empire Captain. And I don't know that that's significant. The Swords of Chaos get routed by the Dragonback Slayers, but at least Archaon is able to get free. The Steam Tank is back here fighting Famir Warriors. And Famir Warriors are going to be right at home taking on a Steam Tank. These Mist Stalkers are actually a really good unit for this. Sunders the armor of the tank. and really tough unit. The only way it could be any better is probably the Familiar Warriors with great weapons. Some of the dwarves were bottled up right here, and I wanted to get through the lines, so Appius cast a Pit of Shades. You can see him and Sextus fighting side by side over here. At least I see Appius. Sextus may have gotten KO'd. Yeah, I don't see him anywhere, so he may have gotten owned by Ungrim. The Marauder Champions, though, come in, and we're able to start mopping up the remaining Dwarf infantry. Skin Wolves, Marauder Champions, Ungrim, Gyrocopters, all kinds of good times here. Chariots. So my cavalry has run and finally taken care of that pesky Empire Captain back here. The Gyrocopters are out of ammo. This Dwarf infantry was just brutal to break because its leadership was so high. And my Chosen did defeat them with the help of that Mammoth. Thank goodness the Mammoths were there, because we took some pretty good damage, even with the Mammoth. Balthazar using some Searing Doom there. It's actually going to be pretty effective on any blob like that. The Dragonback Slayers, yes, they are anti-large, but getting piled on by this much armored cavalry is not going to be a great time for them. So I'm just kind of charging them, causing damage, and then I'm going to allow these Marauder Champions to come in and help finish. Balthazar is going to rout due to the leadership bar being broken, and that left just Ungrim over here. And of course he is unbreakable, leadership-wise, not so much physically. He's quite breakable. At this point I was saying, hey, let's let Archaon, I wanted to 1v1 Archaon and Ungrim, and so I was starting to type that into the chat. The steam tank was still back here, the Slayers were still there. I'm going to fast forward, just kind of show you all that I was like, oh man, I want Archaon to see if he can 1v1 Ungrim. Everybody was attacking him, and then I kind of got the idea here, and you're going to see me remove all my troops from combat momentarily. We let Ungrim take a little too much beating for my liking, but at this point we're going to pull out. I say at this point, any moment now. There we go. I got the message across, so Ungrim's pretty weak, but you all saw Archaon get owned earlier by an Empire Captain. 1,700 hit points. Ungrim's only got 745. He does have charge defense against large. So we wanted to end this with a 1v1. I'm not going to cycle charge. I'm just going to charge and stay in combat. And I'll let you all see who the victor is here. It is going to be Archaon. So in this case, despite a bad start early against that Empire Captain, he finishes by destroying the Slayer King with the Slayer of Kings. That's right, folks. Appropriate all around. Now, seriously, though, Ungrim took a little too much of a beating there, but honestly, if Ungrim had a whole lot more hit points, Archaon probably would have just gotten owned. It's a fun battle. Appreciate Broken Sky and Tomorrow for playing the good guy side here, and Long Tan and Handsome for playing the Norscan ally Felmann Ingerson. So if you all haven't seen my campaign, it really is different. I've done a lot to make it different. It's themed. We've cut out all the turn-ins. You get cinematic battles. It is really a pretty cool experience. I'm doing everything I can to make it a fun experience. And like I said, these battles were based on the characters and armies from that campaign, and that's kind of what made it fun here. So was this like competitive play? No, but this is one way you can have fun with Warhammer. Warhammer is kind of a tabletop role-playing game of sorts anyway, and so on the computer, why not make kind of a role-playing game out of it from time to time as well, which is what we've done here. So in my army, obviously my Chosen infantry was the one that did the most work for me. Archaon not so much, and then Appius and Sextus both got absolutely owned. Kind of representative of how many times they've gotten injured by vampires in the campaign, I suppose. Now for Long Tan and Handsome, he got some kills, man, on these Marauder Champions. They must have gotten a hold of those Stape troops, done a lot of damage. Look at the Beast of Tan Shar here. They were beast indeed. So much mobility for Norska here, and of course, since this is the ultra settings, he had enough money to bring a decent infantry line along with a whole bunch of this mobility, and it really did a lot of damage. That Shaman Sorcerer racked it up with 163. Now for Broken Sky, you take a look at his army. I'm still wondering, like I said, whether this actually is ultra fun. So 2 knights, steam tank, probably so, because he had Balthazar up on the Pegasus, the Empire Captain on the Pegasus. These 2 knights, Demigryph knights, Hammer of Witches, yeah, the Sunmaker, can he? I mean, he spent quite a bit, so he probably did have it all the way up there. But I mean, coming with this type of infantry in a heavyweight fight like this was risky, because all this stuff is going to have to pay off huge dividends to make that work out. Now, tomorrow, these upgraded Longbeards, the leadership is going to be impressive, but as you can see, one of the challenges for Longbeards, I mean, for their cost, I think they fill the role good, but when it comes into like this high tier type of battle, they perform very poorly against high tier infantry for any other reason other than holding. They won't tear a rout, and they can hold for a long time because they will fight to near death. So they can hold a line while other units do damage, and he did have blasting charges and thunderers and gyrocopters to potentially do that damage. So not necessarily a bad pick. You just can't expect these guys to go out and win a fight with the heavyweight champions of Chaos. Chaos infantry is very expensive, but pound for pound, it is probably some of the best infantry in the game, especially if you take aside like that whole cost look and just look at how it performs. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed this one. It was fun to play. Like I said, appreciate the other folks joining in. Keep an eye out. Join the Discord if you have not. It's always good to go check that out. Also, I'm running a giveaway. Check the comments for that. I've pasted a link down in the comments and should have it in the description as well. I'm giving away a motherboard from MSI and some Steam gift cards. All you have to do is watch a couple of videos, and you can even watch it every day for more entries. So nothing else required other than clicking a link and watching one of my videos. So pretty easy to do. Hope you all enjoy it. I will be seeing you all again soon. HeirofCarthage, signing out.